Hello, Divine Masculine, to another timeless reading of yours, where you have decided to check in to see whether or not anything within this reading is yours, and whatever does not fit, leave it behind as you leave the reading behind. Okay? Bear in mind that this is a non-gender specific reading. Whatever brings you here, brings you here. Whatever you take, you take. All right? Remember that femininity encapsulates feminine and masculine energy, and masculinity also encapsulates feminine and masculine energies. Again, this is a timeless message. Alright, a little bit about me is that I am Master 7th, aka 7th, that reads these energies for you. Should you want to know a bit more details as to who and what I am, in the description box below, you'll find a link with more reading material. All right, you'll also find vast amounts of other material within the description box. How to access further content on this channel, which is I2 Sigmet, and her sister channel, which is my second channel that I run, found as well in the description box. Divine Masculine, let's see what is the topic of this bubble. It's just emotions. So, maybe one of the biggest struggles is learning how to be emotionally available, how to plunge into being open and receptive, and allowing it to behave in a way that when it transforms in the energy that you gave it and whatever comes back to it, that even if it makes you feel uncomfortable in having done so, or difficult in having opened up and wondering whether or not you need to change anything or edit anything or omit anything, that's a sign of vulnerability and thus a sign of weakness, and then somebody is out to plot you, and then the list can go on. The mind will substitute something that it doesn't know about, okay? So it doesn't need to fact check shit in order to be like, yeah, sky's purple. Sky's purple. Sky's purple. Control Alt Delete. Okay? But I see that there's a bit of in a current situationship, there is a requirement for you to be honest, and you don't know how to. You know how to be truthful. You know how to have a great conversation when it comes to maybe money, gold checker, investor, interested in making money, the hustle, the ideas, implementing though. Ooh. Implementation. Wowzers. That can be difficult. Okay. And with the Fool energy being here is saying, you know what? I think given the fact that you think you don't give yourself enough credit because you don't, that's enough credit to see if you have enough credits to run that level one more time. It's like you have enough credits in the arcade machine, like, oh, I don't know if I have enough credits in there. And then you play and it's like game over. You're like, shit, I don't have any more quarters on me. Oh, but it has credits. So some of you are gambling too much as well. If you can gamble your money, you can gamble on your emotions. Mic drop. If you can gamble on your money, you can gamble on your emotions. Look at that. That is so hard for you to do. What? Gamble on emotions? What do you speak of? There's literally a bondage between the compartment that is meant for you to talk about your emotions. You're like, no, it's good, right where it is, right, locked up in here. It's fine and dandy with me. Let that be somebody else's problem. not mine. I'm not saying that you're making someone legitimately. You're not being called out for making somebody else's making your emotion somebody else's problem in the regards of that they're maybe provoked or reacting to something that you've done. However, I am implying that your inaction or action is causing also the reaction of what's happening that you're deciding to discourse responsibility and accountability to, which will not work in your favor. As much as you think you can logically make yourself comfortable in this situation, there is something being slowly brewed up without you really knowing. That's going to be like ripped open from you. So whatever you're trying to squash and squander is going to come up to the surface anyway. Yeah. So best to deal with it now. Best to deal with it now, King of Wands. Best to take action of that same color orange that I said was bound to you before. It's best to do something about it now. And look how you're not in the need to have to do much movement. You went from a standing up position, feeling comfortable, to sitting your ass down and having figured shit out. So you don't really have to go move much in order to figure out a lot of aspects to how to be emotionally compromisable, to have an open emotional conversation. Look at that. Teetering back and forth with that decision, you know? Oh, it's so... I don't wanna, but you gotta. You want money, you want prosperity. 8-8. 8 of Swords, 8 of Cups, Ace of Pentacles. You want money, you want prosperity. It starts bringing solace, groundedness to the mind and all the concerns, and paying attention to that so that it can be a mental law of attraction of magnitude that then externalizes. Okay, because then you have from 6 to 7 Pentacles here, taking that inner accountability, slowing things down for you. If you become more reactionary, you're learning that about yourself and wheeling it back, like you are the sole ownership and proprietor of and founder of who and what it is that you are. So in the beginning of the reading, we had the Queen of Cups energy, all right? It's saying no matter what, the emotions are a bit locked up. At the same time, that's part of your strength here, because the power of what you do not see that you may have been so silent about, and the why it's so teetering to kind of like open up that wound, is that you have a mother's intuition, all right? You have a mother's guttural intuition. You also have instincts that are magnetizing and luxurious to want to be around and to touch and smother and to also manipulate about you. And in more ways, you're like a gentle giant in somebody else's world, but they have a teetering, like hovering ownership over you while you're the gentle giant. And it's strange because it's at the same time, you're the gentle part is the vulnerable, maybe perhaps the trauma within you that's making you so vulnerable, rather than easiness and understanding of self and balance of emotional and all that jazz of self might be actually what is the problem. And so someone can be, no matter if you're 6 foot giant, you know, someone 4 foot could rip you to shreds and also do a lot of damage. And that is a concern that needs to be squashed and needs to be brought to more or less justice for itself. And the justice starting off with you recognizing where also honorary energy is not being done onto thee. All right. So, doing this type of inner internal work will offer a lot of cellular healing. Okay, I'm not interested in saying ancestral healing and DNA healing and spiritual healing and all that jazz. Like those are words that great. If they hit a community, great. If it meets everyone's intellect, it doesn't. That's totally fine. But to keep things simple is best. And then all the complexities that are coming across and around it because you're that one thorn saying, I like to keep it simple. What's wrong with that? I mean, we're walking around with clothing and makeup and jewelry and material world when that's just extra for the raw, authentic nakedness that we came through and entered into this world and leaving this world. It's ironic, though, that we enter this world naked and we leave this world kind of closed. I think about that. Weird. I don't think that's to the ultimate liking. To at least the energies I rock with. However, we're going to leave that one out the window. We're going to leave it right there. We're going to exit. We're going to go somewhere else and talk about political shit. And that's the type of politics that is not fun to talk about. Sister energy here is what I'm referring to. However, simplicity is key for you to understand how to get back to the basics of who you are. And that will teach you how to feel cellular changes happening within you. Some of you are doing like stem cell therapy and that stuff. Be careful of or heed caution to labels and who is producing, giving you what. That's it. Not everything is a bad apple just because I'm saying that. Okay, it's not one size fits all kind of statement. And it's more or less how judgment is in the ether. It's not a one-size cookie-cutter, straight, behave energy, right? It's convoluted mess out there. And to have a moment to take it down a notch and to simplify it and to bring it to a space of simplicity is not to say that we're not going to rule out its complexities or deny its diversity of compromising challenges or challenges that are never going to be compromisable. It's not about that. It's to try to make sense and respect all the atrocities of the journey that made the singular aspect what the journey is. So, cellular is the best type of healing that you could do. There's like DIY projects that maybe you have ignored that you'd want to just, help yourself with passing of time. Doing those activities are also ways of granting self coping mechanism skills without you really knowing them, whether you consciously go into that behavior or not. It still offers a valuable resource of one exploitation of self, which is always authentic, We have Seven of Cups, fantasy. Yeah, so I think you are teetering with where and what to do next. You know, where's the next adventure? Is it a place? Is it a mindset? Is it a good book? Is it the backyard? Is it, you know, in your home, the home of your mental, the home of your bedroom? And then it's also material in the aspect of creative ideas. Really listening to your mother's intuition and see what story it has to tell. What story it has to tell. It's very adventurous. It's very colorful. Doesn't mean that the story may or may not be tragic. It's just colorful. It has a lot of detail. It has a lot of whoa, you know, and that may be alluring and inspiring for other people. A great poem that comes to mind is Our Deepest Fear, where part of that poem, I'm not gonna be great at having being verbatim on the quotes, but you know, if you are being yourself, then you have you give other people permission to do the same. You know, if you focus on your light more or less, completely battered that poem. So let me look it up, because that is just terrible. I can't leave it at that. This isn't the first time I mentioned it. I'm not sure where I've mentioned it before, or maybe I've also come across, but Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Obviously, the way I said it was definitely not as poetic as that just was. Okay. So with the sun comes the fucking moon, and in and of itself provides a fantastical form of fantasy. What I love the most is that between all the intellectual things that you can try to make sense of this world and what has yet in 2025 come across as breaking news of what they have yet to discover of the pyramids, is the pyramids right here in the background. Okay, absolutely fantastic. Orion's belt is in the same position as that. It's like a fucking mystical non-coincidence of power. All right. And to explain that are the teetering eyes of what you think is and isn't of the sun and the moon and everything that happens or doesn't happen in between that relationship here and beyond. Fucking love this shit. Love it. I could spend like 3 hours talking about these two cards alone. But I'm not going to do it. Because the judgment isn't about me to convince something. It's about you searching for it and finding it. The tip of the situation, you need to find out and bring truth to. Not I. Only your eye could do that. As in your third eye. Alright. Let's see what else we got. Some of you have a bit of a relationship with your children, if this applies to you, or the things that you take care of, with materialism attached to it as the manipulator, okay? They don't know it because you're teetering to the emotional, but the sun and the moon know it. The sun and the moon understand the symbiosis of patterns that are going through you that you either recognize as power, fear, chaos, tranquility, serendipity, okay? And there's something off about this. There's something manipulative when it comes to the eye of the moon, the side eye, okay? And the side eye is that some of your responsibilities may be attached to putting to the wayside and enter materialism. So instead of being emotionally more productive in building a bond that your children can offer you in real time due to their authenticity, due to their virtuous ways of being and expressing, and full spectrum of no apologetic of being, of expressing, that it could teeter you a wonderful opportunity for something adolescent, young, staring back into who you are, somebody that they basically most likely look up to on a very physical level as well, and you're their teetering God looking upon them, okay? And it's important to humble yourself in those situations, that you're not hovering over them and seeking power, but that there is something beautiful to grow up to in becoming that tree of domination, instead of you being over them, hovering them, and casting a shadow of them where they feel small, okay? And that is something for you to dance with, okay? Dance with it. Children far and near, yours or not, can teach you lots. And if you don't believe me, start with your inner child. All right. Recognizing pattern changes, okay? Valuing the trinity of alpha, beta, and omega while being alpha. Understanding beta and omega are in the same hierarchy. What do we have here? We have King of Cups and Prince of Wands. Yeah, knowing how, yeah, everything I just said. I just can't. Alright, so, well, yeah, what's really hard is just the beginning of the reading. Like, making your reality emotionally making itself sound in your life. Everything's underwater, so it's very quiet, okay? But so you have to more or less consider other senses that will help you bring rhyme or reason to the things that you can't hear auditorially when you're deep in water of emotions. The element of air could help you reason the flow, the nautical course. Because as a Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, it goes in and out of the water of emotions to the land of reason and logic, physically, metaphorically, or analytically, is still breathing, in need of air, in order to bring reason to be alpha, beta, omega, in unison. Everyone's part of a whole, and without one is none. All right, let's see. Someone's really in love and they don't know how to express it. They don't know how to come to a compromisable attachment. And the best way to kind of make you understand that is that the one that is ready to receive your love doesn't require your attachment. Because if you attach to something outside of yourself, you might also not understand where they are, if they can float or withstand. You might be taking them down. You might be anchoring them. So it's best to not convince yourself that there is a cookie cutter way in order to be something. Just start with what you have and then be open to the reply that comes in you being your version of authenticity, because authenticity chisels out truth and chisels out honesty by helping you build all those variations for yourself if you need to disassociate one from another to make something make sense for yourself. And then it being an emotional journey of prosperity. Okay, we have number 39, waxing gibbous, reflection. So the healing attributes, right? Allow that person, that situation, if this is a trustable situation, that when you tap into that intuitive curiosity, that the only thing that you maybe know or realize that is triggered by your intuition or at your intuition is the fact that you don't know. So that's valuable information enough that there is room to grow to figure out what it is that you don't know. Okay, and the things around you could help you with these steps of discovery. I don't know how many steps there are. It's not a one-to-one, okay? Minimum of 12 steps, you know? At minimum 12 steps here. All right, fire. You know, arguments are healthy, yet it's who your ego is before, middle, and after that really defines if the who, the what, where, when, and why you're arguing is valuable and healthy. Because if someone's gonna say arguing is healthy, then someone who is vulnerable to going into a said situation not wanting to argue, not wanting to trigger, not wanting to inflict pain, are going to be prey to someone who is in that ego of pursuit, and that ego of pursuit becomes predatorial. And that person who then is the prey doesn't realize, and would be maybe harder to realize, that they are in a victim state position. This can happen first and foremost emotionally before the logical trigger comes in some parts of situations, depending on where the trauma lies and who done it kind of thing, or where, when, what happened kind of bullshit, to really feed the ego as to the excuses you also divine masculine may have if you're the one responsible on the sidelines here of being abusive of any kind. Because it will start with admitting self-abuse. Self-abuse is where it's at. And if that self-abuse was then indoctrinated within you and that was your own know-how, then that could be part of the lesson that is your holy mecca of the Holy Grail, that it is just off kilter and maybe not something that everyone will do. But imagine climbing that Holy Grail with all the shit that you have and learning about every fucking step. Because it's not the first step that's the hardest. The first step's fucking easy. It's the fucking last step from the 11th to the 12th that is like, fuck. What the fuck? I do believe that people can fundamentally change. However, some people require different synapses or different ways for things to instill the fuse that is fuming, okay? Yet there's also ways where some things cannot be changed. And that's where it is a responsibility to understand who and what it is you are, and your influence amongst society. That society does not have to reap the same rewards of malice because one is angry. Anger, however, is an absolute amazing motivator. And for anyone who might be in this role of being a father or paternal or even maternal in any kind of way, knows the power of discipline and understands where it can have interesting wavelengths of frequency within discipline to when something is not enough or when it's too fucking much. And that's where things can be politicized, and then that's when you can overshadow it with saying, oh, you really need law and order, because if you don't have law and order, this shit could be absolutely detrimental. All right, Pluto and Black Lilith Moon. Black Moon, Lilith are power, and Pluto. So the things that are in the off silence are very important here, all right? It's the shit, it's shit you don't want to fucking talk about, all right? And it's the anger that you want to suppress. Then I wouldn't recommend you suppressing it. I would recommend you become its fucking best fucking friend if you want to keep beautiful things and embrace beautiful things and have maybe difficult relationships with beautiful things, but it's fucking beautiful. And look how authentic you can talk about something being beautiful and it being gorgeous and it being perfect and it being raw and authentic, because you can have the beautiful symbiosis of a relationship with knowing what's at face value and then its shadow. And that starts with your fucking shadow and then the face value of who you are. And so, yeah, figure out where in this dominion you are and take responsibility. Because Black Moon Lilith, Basta's energy on this channel, will make sure that you will feel the power at least of this heartbeat of the reading. Fuck the logic and the melody. Who gives a shit about that? The bass is what fucking matters to some, right? And at the baseline, there's a lot of things that need to be put to an end. And those things will be put to an end for you. And it's the speed of how you understand these lessons, how you're going to understand the power of this influence. With that being said, I'm wishing you a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are in the ether of this time and space, and may you keep flowing, growing, and glowing. Take care.